guys, I'm Linda.
And I'm Vicky.
And we are Partners in Crime. Today we're going to delve into the Cold podcast again. This is episode 5 called 10 Minutes. Most of this episode was of Josh being questioned by the police. And we do hear from Detective Ellis Maxwell a lot in this episode because he was the one that was actually doing the questioning. It was a very frustrating time in the room because Josh just would not say anything.
He's just vague and
not say a lot.
One-word answers, two-word answers, and
in the beginning he was sniffling and acting like he was just so upset and not worried though. Ellis never said that he was worried about Susan. He would just be sniffling and, again, acting like he's really worried about the whole situation, I guess. And the one time Detective Ellis asked him, where can they look for Susan? And he said, why don't you look in a beauty supply store?
Yeah, that was like, what a crazy answer that was. What does that mean?
I mean, I'm sure that's referring to Susan buying makeup that he probably didn't like her buying because she spent money on it.
Yeah.
So that was just, oh, he's so worried about the whole situation, but yet he says something like that to Detective Ellis.
The neat thing about this podcast, and if you have an opportunity to listen to it, you probably should, because it's the actual recordings of his interviews.
Yes. Yeah,
and you can hear him, what he's actually saying and how Ellis is responding to him. And
right.
It's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And
Josh did say that Susan was suicidal as well.
Yes. And because Ellis kept pressuring him, where do you think she is? What do you think happened? And if he's trying to create a situation where he's out of it, there's, they're not focusing on him.
Right. And, Detective Ellis kept saying there was nothing in anything they read that said that she was suicidal. So that was definitely not something that...
Right. And he was able, and if you remember in our previous videos, she had told one of her co-workers that there was a file. And if anything should happen to her, the file was at her office, and that there was all kinds of information in there that she wanted people to know about.
Right.
And when he said in anything that he read, he meant, she had journals, she had letters and things that she had written. It talked about how bad the marriage was.
Yes. How
frustrated she was with the marriage. And, it just really focused on her husband. So, and with all that material that they were reading, there was nothing indicating that she was suicidal.
No.
Nothing indicating that she would leave her family. She did mention divorce.
Right. But that's leaving him, not the kids.
Right. So,
yeah,
that really made them even more focused on him.
And then when Detective Ellis went out of the room, Detective Tony Martell came in, and then Josh turned it around again and started sniffling and acting like he was upset. He didn't realize that Tony Martell was watching this whole thing, so he knew exactly that this was just put on for his benefit and to try to gain sympathy from him. So it was, manipulation all over the place.
And they knew it. And Jennifer, Josh's sister, had come to watch the kids while he went to the police station.
Yes.
And when the police came, she wanted them to know that she really wanted to get down to what happened to Susan. That she wasn't protecting her brother.
Right.
And that, you know, whatever they wanted, whatever they needed, she was going to give it to them.
Right.
And
she tried to keep that from her mother.
Yes.
Because she was afraid that her mother would have said something to Josh. Yeah.
And they did ask her to take the boys to a center for children, where there are detectives that interview children. I forget the name of the center.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
But while they were there, Josh is still being interviewed. She has the children at this location. And this detective, and I think there is a podcast with the detective interviewing.
Right. We will hear from the children and what they said.
Right, right. But one thing that came out, the 4-year-old said that Mommy went with them that night that they went camping. And Detective Ellis brought this up to Josh, and he said she was not there.
Right.
And the little boy, I forget his name.
Charlie. It was Charlie. He was 4, but he was close to being 5.
Right. And Charlie, you know, just a baby, said she is where the shiny rocks are.
And the flowers.
And the pretty flowers. So it gave him an idea of where that could be there.
Yeah. The south, I think he said the south or west.
It was the west.
The west desert, yes.
Yeah. So, oh God, that's just awful to think that little boy would have seen something happen, or where he put his mother. You know, that's the only thing I could think of why he would say something like that.
Right. When they did find Susan's phone, too, the SIM card wasn't in there. So you knew Josh, actually when they had Josh's phone, they took Josh's phone, they told him he could leave because he wanted to leave. He wanted a lawyer. They said he could leave, but they said you are not, we have the house and we have the car. You can't have them, we have to search them. While he was being questioned, he did take his SIM card out of his phone.
Somehow he managed to do that.
So he knew. I mean, he acted stupid, but he knew. And then he left messages on Susan's phone to act like he was looking for her or was going to pick her up. Or
meanwhile, the phone is in his van.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so.
They caught him in many lies. And situations that where he thought he had a good alibi or excuses, especially when it came to the areas that he was in.
Yeah.
So he never answered his phone. You know, he must have.
He did wash his car too. When he said when he was coming back, he stopped in this town and washed his car. There was a bunch of snow on the ground, salt everywhere. Who the heck is going to wash their car? They were asking, which car wash was it? There were only 2 in the town, and he said it was the one, because Dave Cawley did go to that town, the one who did the podcast, and he drove around to see if the timing was correct. He only saw 2 car washes. One was tied to a gas station, and he said that wasn't the one because Josh said it was just a standalone car wash. And he did say that there was bad cell service. He said his cell service was perfectly fine at that location. So another thing that he did, washed his car.
Right.
Who does that in the middle of winter with snow all over the place?
Apparently he knew.
And he still had to drive home, so his car's going to get messed up again.
Right. Apparently he knew that they were going to trace his route wherever he was that day. So he set it up so that with his phone, they couldn't trace him until he got a call from the neighbor's son.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, he picked up the phone. He slipped up.
Yeah.
And he picked up the phone, and during that phone call, and I think her name's Gianni, the boy's mother. The one who was there helping Susan. Giovanna.
Yes.
Helping Susan with knitting that day.
Mm-hmm.
And he told her that he was still out far away.
Yeah. The opposite way.
Right.
So then he backtracked.
But he wasn't, because they realized where he was. He was closer to home.
Right.
So he rerouted and went all the way back to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And, then...
Who does that if you're not guilty? If you didn't do something to your wife. So...
Well, I think between the couch being wet and...
They did find little between the couch and the fans. They said there was a little bit of tile in the living room. And there was little specks of blood there. They were Susan's, but Detective Ellis said it was kind of like somebody maybe coughed or sneezed, and if you have a bloody nose or something, because they were very small. There were also blood droplets on the couch as well. Again, very minimal, but they were Susan's. So when they did look at the car, there was, instead of having his trash in their trash cans outside, he had the trash in his minivan.
Like he was going to dump it somewhere
else.
Right.
They did say there was trash, though, that I guess he forgot about in the back of the house, but I don't think they really got anything from that. Although, in the minivan, there was also a console, not a console, but underneath the floorboards, there's another part that you could store things. And he had another trash bag in there, and there was burned drywall in there. So, and then there was an item that was so charred that even the FBI forensics couldn't figure out what that item was.
Right, it was burnt. They couldn't figure out what it was. They ruled out electronic stuff, and they just had no idea.
Right.
Well, almost like a rock, he said.
And if you remember the other video we did, he bought this welding, was it a welding set? And they think that probably was what
he used.
Yeah, because that was still in the van as well.
Right, it was some kind of torch.
Yeah, torch or,
Right.
Yeah.
That could be used for that. And, who knows what the heck that was.
So, he does know, he knew a lot. I guess he did a lot of research, and they did say that in the coming episodes that his computers and that sort of thing will really say a lot about...
They took 5 computers out of his house.
So he must have done a lot of research. I would imagine there has to be research on those.
Right.
And he knew about the SIM cards. The phones that they said he used back that time were, they didn't have GPS in them. So he knew if he took the SIM card out that information would not be in there.
Right. So. And he did take the SIM card out of Susan's
phone. Too, because that would be another way that they could find out where it was going, because it was in the phone.
Right.
And that wasn't a GPS in the phone itself.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
So that was episode 5, 10 minutes. And they did also talk to Linda Badgley, was the friend at work, and she's the one that did tell them about all of this documentation that Susan
Right. It just so happens that day she wasn't at work.
Yeah.
But through text messages?
Yeah, someone else at work said that Susan's missing, and she just
oh my God.
She knew something was wrong.
Right. So, he was a suspect.
From day one.
From day one, he was.
And why they felt that they didn't have enough evidence, I don't know. And maybe because of the timing and the time that he did what he did. I don't have the time frame mapped out yet to see from the point that this happened to when he actually killed himself and the boys, to see how much evidence they would have collected between this point and that point.
Right, but you know, I find it so interesting that Jennifer knew. Mm-hmm. I mean, she just knew. She just suspected, you know, that he did that.
And she was around him a lot, more than I think the others were. And obviously, talking to his dad, nobody's going to get any information from him.
Right, right.
But his brother plays a part of it as well. We haven't gotten to that part yet.
Right,
but,
right.
And he did wind up also committing suicide.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe he did. So, but just very interesting. And I can't say enough about these podcasts. They're so interesting. Mm-hmm. And there's enough information in them that they found to get a good handle on this whole story. Mm-hmm. Especially this one with the actual interviews.
Right.
So,
yeah,
I would recommend listening to it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we will do episode 6 next week.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And we are throwing around the idea of doing a video with our comments from our viewers to answer some questions, just bring up some comments. So if you want us to talk about what you have to say, or if you have questions and you really want us to put that on a video, let us know. And we'll definitely do that for you.
And we can't, you know, we try to answer as much as we can. There's a lot, so we're not able to get to everybody.
But we really appreciate it. We do. And at least we try to read them, even if we can't respond to them.
Right, right. Yeah. So there'll be an opportunity to respond to a lot of them, and, you know, we do appreciate it. And
Definitely,
we want you to know that.
For sure. It's like one of the highlights of my week is reading what our viewers have to say, because you guys are just the best. So we really appreciate you so much. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click on the notification bell. You'll be notified every time we upload a video. And something I learned too, if you want other people to get to see us, give us a thumbs up, because that actually helps other people find us. So if you could do that for all of our videos, we'd really appreciate that as well, because we have people still coming to the channel saying, I'm so glad I found you. It wasn't the easiest way I found you, but we did, and they're happy they did. So if you could just give us a thumbs up, and that'll also help too.
Great.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Until next time. Bye.